Good evening, and you're very welcome to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. A very different Around the Grounds than normal. Usually, we have a couple of different reporters scattered around the country, but just one game down for decision this evening coming from the SSC Electricity Premier Division as Sligo Rovers took on Bohemians at the Showgrounds. A refixed fixture from the opening weekend, which was cancelled or postponed, should I say, due to weather conditions that saw the pitch deemed unplayable. Of course, Sligo Rovers have had a great start to the season. They now sit fourth after Friday night's results. They were looking for a big win tonight. 3 points could see them into second place, 5 points behind leaders Derry City, while Bohemians down to eighth position were looking to try and get a couple of points to see them up toward the top, toward the middle of the table, should I say. Watching for us was David McGee.
How are you, Diarmuid? Yeah, finishing Bohemians 1, Sligo Rovers 0. 2 on the bounce at home now for Sligo Rovers, and 2 poor performances to go with it as well.
And David, will I say, for a Sligo perspective, not really the best result when, they could have been 5 points behind Derry going into the next weekend of games.
Sorry, come in again there, but didn't catch all that.
No worries. It's not the best result for Sligo tonight when they could be 5 points behind Derry with a win.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how Bows had started and how Rovers had started, and I suppose on paper it was a very winnable game, but both sat in, made it difficult for Sligo Rovers. Didn't create an awful lot themselves. They looked to play on the break, and their plan looked to play into their own hands really, and they came across and took the 3 points. Sligo Rovers' point of view was a really poor performance again. Shade of possession, didn't create a huge amount themselves, but they looked to be lacking creativity. And that's, as I said, two games on the bounce now, and 2 at home that they've dropped all 3 points.
And Liam Burt, of course, came up with the match winner, his second goal of the season. I was watching it on the league's Twitter account. It looked like a phenomenal goal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it originally started. It was a deep on the left wing for Sligo Rovers. They had their own throw in, and the ball was given away. Promise Omachiri, the big man up front, who did a good job all night, to be honest with you, holding up the ball and being a focal point for Bohemians. Rolled 2 players, and Nando Pineacker, who's a big man himself. He rolled him twice, held him off, and then put the ball across to Liam Burt, who finished neatly in the corner off Ed McGinty's body, and a little bit against the run of play, but a nice goal, and as you said, Liam Burt going well for the season.
And it looked to be kind of a tight nipping game between the two sides. Who from both teams were standout and would have impressed you tonight?
So I suppose, again, Sligo Rovers solid across the back. Both defences were kind of on top. There wasn't a lot of major chances created. One ball in behind the back caught Nando Pineacker on the back foot. Promise Omachiri again behind. A little bit of confusion between the centre half and the goalkeeper there, and he clipped the bar and it went over. Main men again, I suppose, were Ali Coote playing just in behind Omachiri up front, and again, look, Liam Burt was dangerous anytime he got on the ball, keeping on his right foot and tried to create some chances. Carlo Sullivan was probably one of the better players on the night, not getting a lot of ball, doing what he could to hustle and bustle and work down the right hand side. But apart from that, there weren't too many standouts there for Sligo Rovers.
And is the result definitely a big boost for Bohemians? I think it sees them up to 6th place in the table. They were in 8th place. The result tonight wouldn't have been great for them going into Friday. Definitely something that could kickstart their form going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, you're coming away from home and you haven't had a great start from the season. So, coming here to maybe get a point or pick up all 3 as the situation's unfolding, and that's what they've done. And like I said just earlier, their game plan played off to perfection. They had a focal point in Omachiri all night, and it worked a treat. They got the goal from the break, and yeah, they lead the Showgrounds tonight with all 3 points.
Perfect, David. Thank you for that report from the Showgrounds this evening. Disappointing night for Sligo. They look for points now against UCD. Next, of course, UCD struggling toward the bottom of the table. They'll be hoping for better fortunes in that one. Now we'll just take a look at the league table following the one result this evening. As I mentioned, Bohemians, a big result for them, sees them up into 6th place. Drogheda, of course, are back down in 8th. So it's as you are. amongst the bottom three going into the next round of fixtures, while Derry City will be happier of all the teams in the division, sitting on top of the table by 6 points. Now we'll look at the fixture list coming up this week. We have games, of course, in both the Premier and the First Division starting on Friday. All games kick off at 7:45 unless stated otherwise. Drogheda United take on Bohemians, Shelbourne and Shamrock Rovers meet in a Dublin derby, while St. Patrick's Athletic take on Dundalk on Friday night. On Saturday, Finn Harps entertain Derry at 5:30, while Sligo Rovers travel to UCD. Again, that game at 7:45. While in the First Division, on Friday night, Bray and Treaty United kick off there at 7:45, as do Cove and Waterford. While on Saturday, you have the meeting of Galway and Wexford at 5 o'clock, followed by Longford and Athlone at 7:30. So that concludes our Around the Grounds from this evening. Just the one game, of course, that match report and everything else will be available on the Final Whistle website. We'll be back to you again tomorrow night for our weekly podcast series at 7 o'clock. Kieran Callan will be bringing you another episode of the League of Ireland podcast. At 8 o'clock, Luke Delaney will have another episode of the Rugby Show as well. And at 9 o'clock, Alana Canan will bring you another episode of the Women's League of Ireland podcast as well. And of course, we'll be back Friday night and Saturday night for another episode of Around the Grounds. For all of the content to go live, please make sure to turn on all your notifications so you know what guests are going to be on the podcast this week, as for when we'll be going live as well on Friday and Saturday. Thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to having you on again next time we have another episode of Around the Grounds. But until then, goodbye.